What's that? Let me ask you this question, Homer. How did you ever hear of Rage in the Cage? I know my very first show was at Rockin' Rodeo. Was it Rockin' Rodeo? Yeah, Rockin' Rodeo in Phoenix. And I'll never forget that show. I'll tell you why. Because I just moved here from LA. And I was here about 2 years. And a person told me, Roland, you doing the show in that side of town? And I said, yeah, I was there the other day. He goes, man, that's really rough. Well, I came from LA. So I was thinking to myself, are you guys joking? Like I thought it was actually middle class.
No,
but
how I remember there was Richard Hamilton. He was like a promoter,
right.
And there was jiu-jitsu shows and all this stuff. I was a wrestler. I had a great heart. I just wanted to be with the right people who were going to make me famous and get me in that realm so I could do some things, on TV and everything. That was my dream. When Richard Hamilton went off, some things happened with him, and so I'm not going to go into that aspect and talk about that, but some things happened to him when he ended up getting incarcerated for about 3 years, and then Roland came on the scene. Well, Roland, the Doomster here, had a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu camp. I didn't see a camp. He had like 40 guys in there, man. They were in there. They were working hard and everything. And I was so cocky because I was a wrestler. I was thinking that Jiu-Jitsu was going to really try to change me. So I'd already trained with Megaton, but I seen this guy. Like, this guy might try to push me too far, and then I might not be able to be in his organization. So then later, I had this thing in my mind. This gentleman right here becomes the promoter of Rage in the Cage. Now I got to face the guy, And so we ended up crossing paths.
You didn't bother me.
And then he took on to me and gave me a chance, and that's how I got the pop.
Let me ask you this, Homer. Which fighter would you say? I have a few questions. Okay, first question I have. Which fighter gave you the biggest fear? And I think I know which one it was, because I think you told me once. Which fighter you were like, oh boy, it just intimidated you for whatever reason? And I tell you who I thought it was? A-Dog Sullivan. For some reason, I think...
Man, I tell you what, A-Dog Sullivan did make me feel shaky. Because we did a jiu-jitsu match, and I thought I had him, and the guy pops up, and I went in Olympic qualifier, so I'm looking at all the other fighters like Mark Kerr. They're learning jiu-jitsu. I thought I knew jiu-jitsu, and I really didn't have it cinched in my mind. This guy ended up getting behind me and doing a rear naked choke, and I was training with Team Megaton back then. And they couldn't believe that I had lost the fight. I was embarrassed and that sort of thing. But this man right here made the fight promotion happen between me and A-Dog Sullivan. Matter of fact,
it was fun.
I was supposed to fight him with this other promoter guy. That was at that place in Scottsdale. It was called
Cajun House?
Cajun House. He remembered it.
I don't know how I
Cajun
remember
House.
it.
And so I told A-Dog before the fight, I was like, hey man, before we get at it, he's like, I was like, you don't let me win? Like that. And he was like, nah man, we gotta fight for real like that. I was like, okay, I was trying to get in his head. And,
you were good at that, by the way.
Yeah.
You were very good. And I knew your personality. So he would have to fight some of my guys once in a while, and I would laugh inside the whole time because I knew what he was doing. And I found it funny as hell, but I couldn't say anything. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Homer. Which fighter would you say that you went against that you were just like, wow, he was very good, just blew you away? I mean a fight, not in practice. That you were like, wow.
I think Jeremy Thorne.
Very good. That's a legend, icon.
I fought that dude, and I was supposed to fight Matt Hughes. Wanted to fight
Oh my
me.
God, that's crazy.
Because I beat Matt Hughes in college. I was national
really?
champion in college.
I didn't know Matt Hughes was a wrestler.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt Hughes. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of
yeah.
someone
But
else.
Matt
Okay.
Hughes, the UFC Matt Hughes.
Right,
I beat
right,
him, my freshman year in college and my sophomore year. My freshman year I was national champion, and I was All-American when I came back. Queens College, Dave Severn's camp got weak. There wasn't that many wrestlers in there. Frank Trigg was there my first year, and we had all these good wrestlers in there. So I was just training with good guys. The second year didn't have that. It was like practice, was like mediocre. So I ended up losing. You had guys that were looking at me to beat me, and they came out and they were better because of that. But anyhow, Matt Hughes, I ended up, I was supposed to fight him, and I was like, no, matter of fact, no, I was supposed to fight, I'm sorry.
Hey, hold on, homie. Let me give you a mint, dude. Remember when you used to do that to me?
Right.
Remember?
Right.
When I used to do the show, my breath was like a dragon. Homer used to go, hey,
Was it coffee or something?
Let me
Was
give
it
you a
coffee?
mint. I don't know what it was.
What were you doing?
But I've never forgotten that. The rest of my life. Anyways, go ahead, man. I'm
He was
sorry.
working so hard that he couldn't,
Well,
throw a minute in.
anyways, go ahead.
Anyway,
sorry.
so Jeremy Horn, I'm fighting him. I go with that guy Scott Lewis, which Joe Riggs' frickin' manager, which we already know about Joe Riggs. He does a lot of talking and stuff.
Did you ever fight Joe? I can't remember.
Yeah, I whooped his ass and raised him in a cage.
That's right.
Body slammed him on top of his
That's
neck,
right.
made him look like a little boy, and
I forgot about that.
he still tried to be.
That's right. Forgot.
He made false statements about him to the police and stuff. But anyway, that's here and there. But moving forward, so Jeremy Horn was the toughest fight I had. Matt Hughes wanted to ref it. I said no. And so there was a lot of body slamming going on, but he was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, elbows.
It's no joke.
And I dominated the top, so I thought that I won that fight because I did have some striking in there, but they ended up giving it to me. So I think that's because I was in his backyard.
You know who I remember for whatever reason? I remember Tiger. Your cousin Tiger, the big old dude. I'll never forget when he got A-Dog and threw him across the cage airborne. I'll never forget that the rest of my life. Do you remember that? Hey, Homer, were you at the show when the guy's turd came out of his ass? Remember the guy's turd came out of his ass, and I picked it up and I said, he just got the shit kicked out of him. You remember that fight?
Oh,
You
no,
probably
no,
don't
no.
remember that fight. Yeah,
I remember Vince Lucero, though, when I knocked his tooth out. And,
You know who he fought? You know who Vince Lucero fought? That movie star. The big wrestler. He's really famous now. I got him the tip of my tongue. Yeah, he used to be a WWE wrestler. Not Rock, but like a Spanish name. But I think he's Hawaiian. Vince Lucero fought him really tough, too.
What's his name?
Marquez or... Well, anyways.
I thought it's not Chemo or nothing.
No, not Chemo. It was, anyhow, he's a real famous movie star. And I brought that up because you fought Vince Lucero that fought him as well.
Let's talk about Chael Sonnen. Let's talk about Chael
Oh
Sonnen.
man, you had to go there, man.
Listen,
You know what? I don't even want to talk about that yet, man, until we get to part 3.
but we're not going to talk about him saying I eat fettuccine and biscuits and everything before the fight and that all that other crap.
Wait, let's back up a little bit.
You said I ate fettuccine.
No, before all that.
Guys,
I remember you calling me and you asked me, Roland, would you corner me at the Rumble in the Rock from Hawaii? And I believe, I could be wrong, didn't we red eye? Like we just showed up? Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Red Eye.
You
sure
didn't
was.
even train. You didn't even train. It was just me and you. We just went there for a Hawaii trip, pretty much.
Yep, and I had some. I remember I was on a plane. I was like that because I had some shots the night before or something like that. Those people didn't know anything about that. But the crazy thing about it is my arm was raised.
Well, we're going to get to that in a little bit. Because I'm saving the best for last.
Okay.
But let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
You weren't even training. You're partying, probably knowing you party like a rock star 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget us taking the red eye real late at night. And the next day, you were dying because from the flight, you hung over, you were
Turbulence,
tired,
all that. It was horrible.
and so forth. And I wasn't your coach at the time. I was just your friend, and I promoted Rage in the Cage. So when Homer asked me to go, I said, yeah, I'll go.
I needed a breakthrough because all the other fighters were surrounding this guy and was drowning out, and I felt like I was falling off, and I needed to get back in check. And this was a serious bout, and I needed some verification. I needed some energy. I needed some time, and Roland was able to give it to me that time.
Well, let's get back to Chael Sonnen on part 3. So, fight fans, we're going to be